Thank you for the tip. There we go. Got the audio on. HPESOJ. I see your name in here a lot, but I don't really know how to say your name. So tell me how I should refer to you because I like to see you commenting. Yeah, Andrew Trades. Yeah, they told me I was muted. I think it should be working now. So comment that you could hear me and comment if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube. We just started multicasting. Joseph backwards. Okay. Yeah, I see that now. So that's what I'll refer to you as. But George is going to come in here any second. So if you have questions for him, feel free to get them ready in the chat. But I'm going to go through our topics for today before George gets in here. So hopefully none of you own or investors in Metastock because they're having a pretty bad day today and it's only gotten worse throughout the day. So after they've continued to fail at earnings, I think we have to ask George, like, is there a future for Snapchat or does something have to happen? Or are they even investable? Because it seems like they've been going nowhere ever since their stock ballooned during the fluff market of 2020, 2021. Joseph, I'll ask George that. I'll make sure I ask George that when he gets in here. So spinning off the Snapchat story, we have to look at some options, like maybe some big tech companies would be interested or it'd be beneficial for them acquiring Snapchat. So we'll talk about that. George, AMC, One Moon. Oh my God, Super Banco, you're gonna get George going. He gets pretty passionate about AMC. So once he sees that, you're probably gonna get scolded, not gonna lie, but we'll see. Next topic. There is a joint live streaming app coming to the market from ESPN, Warner Bros, and Fox. So I'm going to ask George: are these companies done competing solo with Netflix because they have to team up to? It looks like they have to team up to compete. So we'll see. Hello, Kevin Shaw, new fan subscriber here. Keep up the content. Thank you for joining. If you came here for George, he'll be in any moment. But everybody, I can't see how many likes we have when I'm streaming. So if you guys could everybody like the video right now. I see we've got 17 people in here. So like the video and let me know what our likes are at. Maybe Joseph can tell me how many likes we're at. I expect to see us in the teens. Solid announcement, teaming up to create a Yep, Andrew Trades, yeah. So we'll see what George has to say about that. Next thing on our docket for today, by the way, we will be getting into the model portfolio update at the end of the stream. But before we do that, we'll cover all these topics. So we haven't updated the credit crunch in a long time. And we were talking about that, it seems like probably going into the end of last year, 2023. And there's just been no resolution and it's kind of been building and building. So we got some updated numbers from the New York Fed that we'll get into and we'll see what's going on there. Next thing, this is a bit of a lighter topic, but the Simpsons made another prediction. If you guys saw this going around social media this week, comment right now. 3 on YouTube, that's it? Let's get some more likes here. I'll log in on my own channel and I'll like the video. Got to support Prospero. So let's like it up. Oh, I see a few more. I see we're up to 9 now. Maybe yours just wasn't updating, Joseph, since you've been in here. Oh, we're at 11, so we hit double digits. There we go. Last stream was our best YouTube stream ever. We crossed 200 views. I think when I was in the analytics, I saw that we peaked at 35 concurrent viewers. So it's great to see the numbers going up. Happy people are liking it. Happy people are joining. If you're new to the streams, we go live every Monday at 11 a.m., every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Sometimes there's some changes, but those are mostly the time. So if you're looking for the future, that's when we'll be live for the most part. And the last topic I am bringing to George today, before we go into the model portfolio, is a topic about Microsoft. And it's just been amazing to me personally to see their stock just go up day after day after day. And there's some pretty insane stats that I'm going to share during that time when we talk about it. Hopefully, I am saved here by George, hopefully joining us. But if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask me. I'm happy that we got a lot of, it's all YouTube comments. Nobody likes to comment on Twitter, I've noticed. It seems like The man of the hour has joined us just in time.
What?
Oh,
Yeah, it would
like
be
live from
right.
heaven, George.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, we're having obviously some technical difficulties.
All right, so George just dipped out. There's the camera problem that I was alluding to before. How long have we been working together? So I don't know when, but on my own channel, which started off as a finance channel, it's not anymore. It's called Foster.Fi. George reached out to me and he asked, and then I reached back out to him and I asked if he wanted to be interviewed. So I interviewed him the beginning of last year. I want to say that was like February or March, maybe even January. Um, and that was awesome. And I met him, and it was cool to talk to him, cool to learn from him. And then we didn't start actually working together till May of last year, and we started off doing one stream. George is a ghost, yeah. We started off doing one stream per week, and I was editing, I believe, 4 videos for their Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. And it's gotten well so far, and we've kept doing it more and more. Um, Now I do we do 2 live streams, and I post 2 shorts per day. If you don't follow us on Instagram, TikTok, I'm abandoning this. Oh no, Prospero.Ai. What do you mean? If that's George, maybe you could just set up in the spot you did your model portfolio. Yeah. Yeah, move to the other computer and we'll get things going. Can you share your YouTube channel, please? It's called Foster.Fi. It should be easy to find. Why blue screen, Steven? I don't know. This used to be my old logo that's behind me. I could turn it off if you want. Oops. Let's see if I could turn it off. Sometimes, yeah, yep, that's exactly how it's spelled. Oh, let's see, it's settings, virtual background. So this is where I'm streaming right now. Sometimes I like to just keep it on because um, I actually leave my house to film these streams because I have 3 dogs and they could be extremely noisy, and there's people who live with me. So I like just blocking it out. So no matter where I am, it'll work. But now you see behind the scenes. So no more. I put your curiosity to bed, Wolf. Thanks for joining. But I'm gonna turn it back on because I kind of like it. It reminds me of when actually it didn't go back on. Whatever. Maybe we'll do. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I have 3 German Shepherd dogs, so they can be very loud. And if I'm filming one of these live streams with George, and anybody passes my house or like comes to the door, they all just start barking. So it's a big mess. So I have to get out of there and leave. But yeah, thanks, Joseph. Hope you. It's a different style of content I post on that channel from here, but you know, hopefully you like it. Stick around. Thanks for subscribing. I wonder. George is going to come in here and he's going to be like, "Why were you just pitching your channel on Prospero?" But whatever. We'll see. Uh, Question for George. Any recommendations for biomedical companies that are developing stem cell therapies? With them being legalized at some point, it stands the reason the boomers would spend here. With them being legalized at some point, it stands out to reason. That's probably a good question.
All right. Um, Here we go. I
Welcome, George.
Yeah,
We have a happening chat here today.
yeah. Sorry, everyone. We I don't know if it was the settings or just like the sun angle or what it was. Needless to say, I had a very unsuccessful. It was also a camera disaster. Uh, so yes, thank you all for your patience working out this new setup. You guys see my actual office here. I guess we saw it for the model portfolio the other day. I don't know. I'm gonna talk to the person who helped me get the camera, and we're gonna figure out if we can even do it in that spot in the afternoon and what needs to happen. It was very, very bright. Um, but yes, appreciate as always people's patience. Sometimes, sometimes I'm not there right at the start. Um, but yeah, let's dive in. Oh, I didn't get my phone. I'll be right back. Sorry.
No problem. Um, Haley, that's a good suggestion. I'll look into that once George starts speaking and see if I can get that going on StreamYard, which is what we use. I think that's probably a good idea. I know on YouTube, I don't know if you can do it with live stream, but with videos, you can just add closed captioning if like as a setting. Um, but I'll see if I can do it on StreamYard just all the time. But I think I'm going to start off with this question by Sean French. Sean, are you still here? I think that's a pretty interesting question to ask George about the stem cell therapy bio companies.
Stem cell therapy bio companies. That sounds very exciting. I was actually just getting my market view uh, going up, and I was like, oh, I have the same problem as you guys. If I don't have I'm useless without Prospero. Uh, all right, QQQ net option sentiment up to 51. Definite recovery. I think what we're gonna see there. We'll look at the technicals, but I'll probably flip a lot more bullish. And what we'll likely do there is we will likely, I think we're going to have a guest on today. I don't know if maybe I didn't get the StreamYard link good enough that we're not going to have, but we do have a guest that's going to like maybe talk to me about the portfolio. But it'll be a good day. I don't know how many of you have seen me do this um, versus the normal thing, but I'm actually just going to close a bunch of my shorts today because the portfolio has gotten pretty inflated. So you'll actually see me, actually just like exit um a lot of short positions to like balance it out more in the other direction. But we will do that all in good time. Um, let's dive into the topics. I think that the long and the short is we're definitely seeing good bullish action in QQQ net option sentiment. I've really been keeping my eye on that. I think for the model portfolio, we like that will mean that we will get right now we're leaning bearish. Right now we're more neutral in the newsletter picks, so we'll probably stay there pretty similarly, but I'll take a look at those. Let's do the other questions first, though.
Yeah, so before we get the first question we have is really good, but Joseph, who's been here a lot, commented that he loves your shirt. It's the favorite shirt he's seen. And Haley said you have a matching bathing suit, so maybe you'll have to come in the whole outfit one day to one of
Oh
these
wow!
streams.
Thanks, everyone. That's great. I think this is actually this might be my personal favorite shirt, both for the comfort and uh, and the style. Um, I got it in Greece actually, and I eyed it, and I saw that it was like I saw the price initially. I was like, oh, but it's just so comfortable. And it's like actually like I don't know if anyone. I mean, it's a little shop in Paros, Greece. So I don't know if anyone this matters to anyone else. But I also love that it doesn't get wrinkled when I travel. Like wrinkles like bother me more than like many things in this world. And it's got the added benefit of good wrinkle protection. But yes, I always appreciate the shirt compliments. Thank you.
So Sean French was commenting earlier, and he was asking if you know of any biomedical companies that are developing stem cell therapies. Because I don't believe they are legal here yet, but he's saying it stands to reason at some point they will be, and boomers would want to spend on them. So, do you know of any? I know you think bios. I forget which term you called it, but like those type of biostocks are the most risky. But um, for
And
Sean.
I think I have a good kind of broadened answer on this, which is one, I don't generally like questions like this. I don't really tend to answer on the fly. For no other reason than I'll come back to it. I'll do it next week or next Monday, or Wednesday when I've had a little time to research. It's complicated, and I want to just make sure, even if I rattle off some names, that I've done a more complete research. But what I can say today um, is that I don't really like frontier tech stuff like that doesn't have a more established market. Um, there's just too much risk involved. Like I'd rather bet on something like Meta or SMCI. I'd rather buy long-term options on that. I'd rather my risk be in like the derivative instrument of something than in the probability that the business actually is like viable on any kind of time scale. So I think the best way to put that is like, yeah, I would love. I think people will buy stem cell. Um, uh, Shirt recommendations. I'll check it out. I think people will buy stem cell stuff, but I like to see a more mature business and clearer winners. I think is maybe the best way to put it. And I talk about this, to draw a parallel with Meta. Like I actually talked about how stupid that whole Meta thing was, and it's just because they tend to be um, they tend to be um, a graded acquire, right? Instagram, WhatsApp, they don't have any problems paying a lot for mature businesses and getting those deals done, right? For people that might compete with them. Um, so if you're good at that, it doesn't really make sense to do a bunch of R&D in frontier tech like the metaverse. They pissed away that money when they could have just like waited for until that became a more mature industry and paid the money then. They could have. There's a concept in business called the costed capital, and that basically there's a time value of money, and the more money that you have like spent on immediate benefits, the better off you are. And even just like seeing what happened with their dividend, and their how people reacted to that and their share buyback, right? Talk about a better thing to do with cash than like invest in frontier tech. You do a share buyback, um, and a dividend. You get people inflating the value of your stock. Then you have that much more money later to buy a clear winner in the metaverse, if and when that happens, right? And I would I'm drawing this parallel because I would call your choices with your money. That's how I would recommend. Instead of betting on a frontier tech, that we don't know what I could say. I can say like you that like, yeah, there is a market and I think it could be big. But who the winners are there, like that's why I'm like, I even have to research that. Like I don't even know if I'll end up having an opinion on who the winners will be. Or who I bet on over one, or I might just say the whole thing looks too risky. But I think that's an important thing to think about as an investor, the time value of money. And like for me, I like to bet on higher probability um, events. Um, and if I need to add return to it, that's when I'll buy like a longer term option. Um, I would prefer to get my risk in that way versus like, is this business going to succeed? Which, I think you can kind of to cap it, you can separate um, are stem cells going to do something, be a part of our future? Yes, absolutely. But does that mean we know which businesses will properly leverage them, properly bring them to market? Absolutely not. And I don't think I'll be able to speculate on that. I don't think most people would have a good speculation on that. That's how I have a feeling where I'm going to land. Um, but as I said, I'll look into it more.
So you brought up Meta and how they have done so well with acquiring companies, which we've highlighted in the past, and how it might be difficult for them to do in the future. But there's a stock today that is tanking after earnings. I hope none of our viewers are investors of this stock, at least for today. Snapchat was down over 36% last I looked. It opened bad and it got worse throughout the day. So I wanted to ask you, do you think Snapchat has a viable future on its own, or is it going to need to be acquired, or is it even attractive to be acquired by another, Google, Meta, any other social media tech company going forward?
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny. And I was just like looking at their market cap. They still actually have a $19 billion market cap. I thought it would be interesting, but I would wonder about like the dilution and share dilution. Um, but oh, interesting. They have Spiegel and Murphy still own 95% of the voting shares. that seems like a crazy amount for like not. Um. Anyway, like we were talking about it. They were offered to buy, like Meta offered to buy them, um, for $3 billion at one point. And to me, it seems like I was like, I guess the market cap, but I bet the founders would have had more money, own more of it. But anyway, um, I think that um, I don't like their business. Like I don't like. I think that TikTok is a better engagement platform. And I think that WhatsApp kind of has the lockdown and the messaging that like some people there's people that use Snapchat. My younger cousins use it. Like I think there's still some people that kind of like got hooked and use it and like it as messaging and like the disappearing messages. Um, but it's just like I don't I don't really love their business. I don't think they have I think things that are kind of more in the fad category of like they had their moment. Like I think people like TikTok more. I think that's where people are consuming video. I think they have some market. I don't think they're gonna die. But I wouldn't bet any money. I don't think I'd I don't think I'd buy like I'm gonna look at their PE right now. And just like say where I would like call the value, like risk reward. Let's see.
It's probably
Oh,
astronomical because I think they're barely profitable, if at
no,
all.
they're losing. Yeah, they're losing money. Yeah. So, yeah, uh I wouldn't want to own Snapchat above anything at all. Like
So you,
if someone
so you,
gave me Snapchat shares, I would accept them, obviously.
you would sell
Um,
them.
yeah, sell them and buy something. Yeah, I don't want to own Snapchat. I don't think it's a good business. It's not even making money. Like when was it started? Like
Got to be
yeah,
10 years ago now, right?
yeah. It's 12 years old. It's losing money. Forget it. It's not a good company.
So you have YouTube that's crushing it and paying 70 billion to creators over the past 3 years, and every app that's in Facebook Meta's ecosystem seems to be gold. So is it the management of Snapchat, or what's wrong with it at its core?
I think you kind of have like management and product. I always think they kind of go hand in hand. Um, and I would say the way I see their product and management interaction um, is that, like I said, they had a certain market, but they didn't do anything like they didn't have any new innovations, right? And we've talked about this before. You either want to have new innovations or acquire new businesses that did innovate, right? Those are the two ways. Like, and it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of people when Elon Musk comes up, and it's kind of funny. Just they want to make this distinction between they're not his ideas or like whatever. It's like doesn't matter. Like you bring something to market, like great. He's not as a great as creative person as Jobs. Fine, whatever. Like you bring something to market, you're good at making ideas. At the end of the day, that's what we're really talking about here. Nobody like I don't really care about any awards for creativity unless you actually know how to deliver. And in fact, I tell people that. Some of my friends that are like more like, out there, like that don't like deliver as much. I tell them that it would be cooler if they did. Like, it's not easy to deliver. It's a lot easier to just have ideas and throw them out and talk about how your ideas would have worked or someone else, you had an idea that someone else did. It's like you do the idea. That's what there is to be proud of. And I don't see a lot of good ideas coming out of Snapchat. Like they had the disappearing messages. They had a nice idea, a nice brand. Um, but it seems like they're just like not coming up with new ideas, not doing anything innovative, not really even, trying very hard um, to do any of that stuff. So yeah, it's not a it's not an interesting business.
So you don't like any ideas coming out of Snapchat, but let's see if you like this idea, which was announced today, and Disney has earnings after market, so I'm sure it's connected. They'll probably talk about it. But ESPN, Warner Bros., and Fox they're launching together a joint streaming service for live sports that's going to be available in Hulu, Disney Plus, and what's the other app? Warner Bros. App, HBO, their Max app or whatever it's called. Um, but it looks like they're giving up on competing with Netflix individually and they're teaming up. So do you think that like Netflix is on another level? And do you think there's a good idea for all these companies to be working together now and not competing individually?
Yeah, I think that we're seeing some very interesting streaming wars stuff. Um, Definitely. And um I think that we're definitely starting to see a shift in some of these places. And I think we're definitely starting to see, I think, some behavior around like people understanding that, to your point, that you can't really, that Netflix has hit a critical mass and they're just good at their business. And it's just very, very hard to compete with their size and, the way they relate to their customers. And it's kind of interesting, um, because I would say, uh, I would say it's interesting that, um, this is even kind of on the table for them because, like, especially if you're talking about like ESPN, like sports, I would say is pretty much the most valuable content that's produced. And like the fact that, they, Disney or whoever you want to talk about couldn't figure out a way to use sports to get more subscribers than Netflix. That tells you we talk about Netflix management and kind of their innovative efficiency practices, all that stuff. But that right there, the fact that like Netflix has pretty much zero access to the most valuable content, sports, yet is beating all of these platforms that does have sports, which by the way, if there's one threat, I would say it's YouTube because they've gotten themselves some sports content. Um, but yeah, that is the one thing that I just like, um, is the biggest sign, um, that, uh, that I would say, um, Netflix is a better managed company.
So I forgot this. One of our viewers commented before, Super Benko. He said he's interested about AMC. Is it a good time to invest in AMC currently?
Mhm. No, AMC is a terrible company run by a grifting CEO that continues their best business model appears to be this ongoing grift of retail investors. They have no real business model. They're in a death spiral. They're barely eking out a profit. They have tons of debt. They've diluted the company more than 90%. And that hasn't even remotely gotten them out of debt. They are a terrible, terrible company. Um, and the best thing they have going for them is the loyal army of brainwashed people that are like trying to tell other people that it's a good investment on a constant basis and brainwashing new people every day into thinking the batshit craziest part about the AMC pitch is I keep seeing people talk about it as a fundamental play. It's like the fundamentals of a business are profitability. Like they have tons of debt, they're barely eking out a profit. They are in a dying industry of movies, like not dead, dying. Some people take offense to that. It's dying. Um, it's a terrible, like, yeah. Uh uh if Snapchat is a terrible company or AMC's atrocious garbage pile.
Yep. I always know the AMC story lob is just going to get dunked on. I did also want to bring back up a story about that we haven't updated on in a while. So last year, it seemed like last year, I don't know if we've even talked about it this year. We were talking about how the credit crunch was happening. There's consumer credit piling up and piling up and piling up. And there were some stats released by the New York Federal Reserve today or this week about how delinquencies rose 50% last year. And in the fourth quarter, total consumer debt rose to 17.5 trillion, with the addition of 212 billion in the quarter alone. So I figured we just update, get your view on it. Is there anything new? Obviously, the numbers just keep going higher, but what can we expect out of this consumer credit crisis? Is it a crisis? How long can it stay this high? All of those details.
I think it's like one of the things that I think is pretty funny. Like there's just like an old like Mean Girls line. It's like quit my trying to make fetch happen. Like and it's just about like pushing an agenda kind of. Um, I feel like the market keeps trying to say like quit trying to make this credit crunch happen. Like and just like denying it that it's happening. And it's kind of funny because like what happens with a credit crunch unless there's like some relief event, um which there probably won't be, and I mean like a bailout or some new, I would say like kind of economic prosperity, and like I would say we're still like we don't have like a big like job creating event um that I see on the horizon. Like there are decent jobs, but not like a huge job creating event. Those are really the things that like the ways you could get out of this like kind of like credit spiral that we're in, where it's just like getting larger and larger and larger. Like generally, what happens um, is um, there's a larger and larger like it balloons, and then there's some kind of explosion, collapse. That's what I would expect to happen here, um, with the caveat of who knows what the timeline is. And I can't tell you how many people, how many doom and gloom like perma bears I've heard just for years, like say crisis, crisis, same crisis, credit crunch, liquidity crunch. That they're just like, and they're just a broken record. And then it happens, and so they're just like, see, I told you. It's like you've been saying that for 6 years. Like, yeah, it's like we're gonna like it's the American economy. That's the cycle, right? Like for those that don't follow it, like what always happens is like there's a some kind of credit crisis or some kind of like stock market crisis. Sometimes one cascades into the other. Like the government cares about reform, which pretty much just like encourages people to not be bad actors for long enough that the public can forget about it. And then a certain amount of time happens and there's another crash or credit crunch. And like, so yeah, if you're predicting one every year, every month, you're going to be right eventually. Uh, but that's the two sides of the coin. I think eventually we're going to see, you know, some very bad things um, happen in the market. Um, a timeline on that, who knows? Market, consumer spending. Um,
Yeah. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. I'm sure we'll see some changes in the Prospero signals when an event like that actually happens. And we have a question about them from Joseph. Actually, two-part question: Will there be real-time alerts down the line for parameters of stocks that they're following within Prospero? And will it be possible at any point to be able to screen for stocks using various Prospero metrics?
so that's a lot of questions. Um, I would say the real time alerts thing. There's actually kind of like a practical problem with one of the things that you're asking for. And the whole goal of Prospero, whether it's the newsletter or the app, what have you, the whole goal is to vet information for you, make it easier, show you what's relevant, right? So there's a lot of things we get asked that the problem isn't that we could build alerts that tell you whatever, right? The problem is we don't want to build an annoying product, right? Like let's say you want to know when any stock hits 80 net option sentiment, right? You could get thousands of alerts a day, right? That's going to be annoying. You're going to blame, most people would blame us for that and all the push notifications. They get pissed at us for sending them that, even though it's them kind of asking for something that's not good. So that's really the push pull there, right? We could get real-time alerts about whatever. What we want to do is get you information that's good, right? And net option sentiment is volatile. Even for a single stock, if you're saying you want to alert at 80, even for a single stock, you could get in and out of 80, 20, 30 times in a day, right? And that's just one stock. Like, again, that's an annoying amount of alerts. Like, maybe not for everyone, but we can't just make these products for some people and not others. Um, so that's the challenge. We do want people to be able to build their own screeners. That's definitely something that we want to do. That's on our roadmap. That's a little easier. Like, that's a little easier for it to not be like annoying. Um, but same problem, a little different flavor, right? Let's say we allow you to build screeners instead of the screeners that I kind of build for you guys. Um, what if they're not good, right? The screeners that I build, I vet, I stand by, right? If you guys start building screeners for yourselves and they don't work, then we're getting away again from the purpose and the goal of Prospero, which is to vet and bring good information to you, not just any information. Wolf could be writing an advertisement for Prospero there. That's what we always say. He's listened to me for long enough. He could do the live stream himself now, I'm sure.
That would be interesting one day to have some of the people that are always commenting come on the live stream and talk about how they've used Prospero. We did that a while ago with some users. Maybe we'll do that before the end of the year. I think that's a great question. I think that's a good answer because from your perspective of Prospero, you just want to be able to help people in the maximum way, and anything that Prospero could build or do that wouldn't actually end up helping people, you don't want to actually ever build. So it's a fine line you're balancing on product development. But thank you for the question, Joseph. Uh, hopefully that answered. Yep, he says awesome. Thank you, George. Okay, so one more topic, and then we'll get into the model portfolio update. The Simpsons made another prediction. They added one to the long list of predictions that they've made of their cartoon. There was a clip going around social media where they predicted the Apple Vision Pro. Basically, they had people like fooling around in public wearing this VR headset, and now it's come true. Another prediction they've made correctly.
I mean, there's like I love, but I mean, people that watch might know this about me or not, but I love conspiracy theories. I don't like it when they're like grounded in nothing, but I love conspiracy theories. Like they got to be grounded in something. I went through a whole like in college, a whole like Jonestown rabbit hole, which if you haven't looked at that, very interesting. Do that rabbit hole yourself. I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about Jonestown on the stream, but uh, it's wacky how accurate the Simpsons have been. Like even something like Donald Trump being president. Like I actually remember watching that episode and like thinking like how wacky that idea was. Like it's just so crazy that they're right about that and they're right about so much. It is like it's one of those things like to backtrack of like the conspiracy theory thing. It's one of those things where it's just like on the surface, you're just like, oh, like Simpsons are from the future. Like, they like think about that. On the surface, you're just like, yeah, anyone being from the future is like ridiculous. Like, the physics are not proven. Like, there's a lot of like holes in anyone being able to time travel like that. But like, if you're looking at the amount of evidence of them being right, it's weird. It's like hard to ignore how right the Simpsons have been about like all of these. Like, one of the things that I always say about predicting things is that it really depends on what you're predicting. Like, there's a lot of people that I will say like that'll just like pat themselves on the back constantly for being like right about Nvidia, but like that's like putting the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It's like good job, like you picked the Chiefs. What a brilliant, unique call. Like it's it depends on what you're predicting. And that Donald Trump prediction of president, that was like not that's a prediction that you heard a lot of people, and they're right, and they're right time and time again. It's weird. I'm not saying I believe that the Simpsons can predict the future or that they're from the they're from the future or anything like that. I am also not saying that I believe that to be false.
Yep, they just keep proving themselves to be able to tell time. But I see we have a guest. Should I bring you to the stage, William and
Bring him
George?
on.
All right.
Yes, yes. How you doing, Well?
Doing well. Appreciate you having me on. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear
Awesome.
you.
Okay, no technical
So I'll
difficulties.
give you guys a little background. I met on Twitter. He is also a fellow tech entrepreneur. He, like a lot of that many of you here, is interested in learning the signals more. And so I tossed him into the deep end a little bit. He's actually going to do the model portfolio update today with us. And he's going to ask me any of the questions that you might ask me that you're not currently asking me. So you can learn along with him. Maybe it's things that you've wondered and haven't asked me before. But yeah, Will, do you wanna while I'm gonna get things set up a little here, do you want to intro yourself a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. I appreciate you letting me join today. Yeah, so a little bit of background on myself. I'm a tech founder, totally unrelated industry to finance, work in television and movies, just on the data side, but I am a data guy, I'm a tech guy. And the way I approach finance, aside from a hobby and investing, is, I like to work through frameworks. I like to answer questions through data. So just as an example of some frameworks I think through, most fundamentally, and George touched on this earlier, is just the state of the economy. And I have a process for just how I come to my own conclusions on just where we are economically, strong, neutral, weak, whatever it might be. And after I come up with a thesis there and feel pretty set there, I start to come up with a framework and thesis for just how the market and the S&P 500 will do as a whole. So, I do, foundationally economy first and then market. And then as I get a conclusion on just how the market's going to do, then I go to individual stocks. And, as far as putting a framework together for picking individual stocks, I'm just relatively more new at it as far as picking names I like. And then there are just certain signals and just certain areas that I just have been interested in and have kind of some intuition that there's some information in there that I want to pull into my own just thesis. And synthesizing all of that's difficult, and that's kind of where I got turned. That was my first introduction to Prospero.Ai, essentially, is getting to know holistically, just looking at a stock, just option sentiment on the fundamental side, profitability of a company, on the market plumbing structurally, just how things are looking in just the short market and institutional holdings. And through that, it was obvious that George has just years and years and years of putting together his own framework on picking individual stocks, and that's what interested me in the app, and that's why I kind of went on a whim and reached out to George, and just him and I were able to. Just so generous with his time. I can't thank you enough. Just able to put our heads together, and I just love being able to kind of get into his theories on just how he thinks about these companies and these signals, and puts together his own framework around individual stocks and what makes a stock move for all of these various inputs and signals that are in the app itself, and just getting an idea of just how he thinks of the market. It's been really really enlightening, and I've really just enjoyed the time, and frankly become a lot smarter as a result of it, which is always a good thing.
We're I think there's a lot of forces in this world trying to make us dumber. So anything making us smarter is good. I agree with that. And that was a great intro, and I actually got to set up everything that I needed to set up. So away we go. And feel free. I don't think you actually watched me start doing this the other day. But generally I like narrate and talk to myself a decent amount. Uh, Feel free to interrupt me. Very few, very like little of this talking to myself is actually teaching anyone It's more just to fill the time in case I say something of any value, because I'm mainly focused on this. All right. So, as usual, we are going to check on exits first. And, I might narrate even more today. What I'm generally looking for on these exits is just there's a reason, and like I obviously encourage you guys to look at more than just net option sentiment. But the reason that I kind of boiling it down to just net option sentiment is it's an easy kind of one number check for me to get an overall view of if something's changed, right? Because generally, to get in this, like among other things, I do want to see a good net option sentiment. So if I'm no longer seeing a good one, like 62 is a little low, so we're going to go in and we're going to check out BLD. If I do see that lower, I'm a little concerned, and just generally less concerned about BLD now. I'm not seeing anything concerning in the technical, so we're moving on. And generally, as I've increasingly done, I kind of, when I did this before, was much more just kind of, I think the best way to put it, like willing to move in any direction based on what I'm seeing. Now I'm trying to take more of an overall view. And obviously, my overall view is more bullish today, as I kind of said at the beginning. So, given that, I'm probably not going to. It's going to be a pretty high level of difficulty to get me off of something, but I do think I have multiple ETN positions. Let me just see. So I will get rid of one of those. Oh no, oops. See, this is why I try not to talk too much sometimes. We make mistakes. All right. So I believe, okay. So I believe we have two. Yeah, we have two. All right. So we're getting rid of one of those. I would consider this is a good kind of example of where my view is important, because if I wasn't leaning more long, I probably would have closed out both of those ETN positions instead of one that I am now. But getting rid of one, I generally don't really want to be doubled up on anything unless I'm really excited about it. And that was just like the thing with ETN that I kind of was like long arch looks fine. I was kind of long ETN a lot longer than I expected because because it just kept on looking good. It kept on going up. There's really no reason other than that to have kept so many. I am getting rid of Sigma here too. Oh, I forgot. I was gonna do something. I'm doing something cool with the shorts today. I almost forgot. This is something that I rarely do. So you're in for a treat here. Do you go by Will or William? I forgot.
I go by Will. It's much easier.
Okay. Yes, we're gonna do. I actually I'm teaching a seminar at Princeton, and I recently met someone there, and I guess the person who's my liaison there is named William, and I recently, like, it's one of those things where I had another thing color it. I just started calling him Will, and then when I actually talked to him in the email, and he was just like, "What do you go by?" It's like, actually, I prefer William. So tainted by that experience, as I assumed. You don't want to assume familiarity with people when
Sure.
that offended by it. But I like to be. I didn't finish this thought. But yeah, anyway, we're doing something that we pretty rarely do, which is we're just going to hack off a bunch of our shorts. So we're basically going to do the similar thing. We're going to take a list of our shorts, and we're going to grab all of them. I forgot what the last one we got was. 1542. Okay, yeah, there's a later. This is a later one. So we are going to get this here. We are going to make a new list. And I just, for you Excel junkies, I'm actually just creating a lookup value so I can essentially get I can get the value. Oh no, I want to do this in a different way. Sorry, everyone. We are rethinking. We're actually going to get our screener for today, and well, it's a screener we've been using every day, so it's not just for today. And populate the value, and then grab specifically for these tickers. And then I think we're just going to hack off the bottom. And we need one more. We're going to hack off the bottom, but we also are going to do one thing with sector when we do kind of this like bottom hack, where we want to make sure that this is dark pool, this is net options. Right, so we need profitability. And do you have I don't know if you see me do this part. I'm just like grabbing, I'm formulating this screener. But I'm not labeling it. I've gotten in a very bad habit, and I've warned people against this. I'm sure you know how bad it is to not label data properly. I'm sure you've been bitten by that many times, as I have.
Usually when you're not expecting it, and then you have to redo everything.
Oh, always when you're not expecting it. You know, that's the thing. Like if you had your eyes on the prize, you wouldn't be making. If you had your eyes on the prize, you wouldn't be making the error.
Right.
But or the rush, like I'm doing this because I'm rushed. Obviously, that's the issue. All right. So now we have this, and we want this, and we're going to also want to grab our sector lookup because we want to just take a look. Oh God, really? I think we might just have time to hack off the bottom here and not open up new positions, which is fine. All right, so we have that. We have the sector. This number now. What's going on? It's P6. Let's do the right thing. All right. Now, we're getting on. We're getting a sector. Oh, that's wonderful. Interesting. What did we do wrong here? Oh, I see what we did wrong here. There we go. Now we're cooperating. And now we're going to do this. All right. Interesting. This really flipped around. All right. And now we want to have, we just need to do one more thing. We're just going to see how many in each sector we have. And then we have very little time. So it looks like we really need to worry the most about consumer cyclical, real estate, financial services, and healthcare. So we're going to start dropping. Do we not have much tech? Well, you can drop one tech. Look at all these utilities companies. Oh, we have Hasbro twice. These these can be very temperamental, these healthcare ones. Yeah, I'm not convinced. I want to get out of that. How are we doing on time? Oh, God. X-ray looks, we're getting rid of Biomed. X-ray. Got a lot more dudes than I thought. 15, no. All are getting rid of workers. What's going on with KW? I actually, yeah, we still like that. Let's look at AM.
I have a question for you. Are you deliberately trying to drop one per sector?
I'm targeting, like, yeah, as I said, I'm targeting these sectors. And then, like, obviously these numbers are higher in the filter, and lower is better to hold, right? So I'm really just I'm targeting certain sectors and then just like seeing what's going on with them, basically, is what's going on here. I don't have any particular thing that I'm doing other than that. I should drop one of those utilities ones actually now that I kind of want to go back. Yes, yes. I do actually want to look at MGE because I have that in my other portfolio, and I might want to now actually IRT, DRH. We're getting towards the end. I think we just want to get towards the end here. DRH. No, that's actually good. IRT, DRH. HR. That's actually looking pretty good. PTCT. That's one that we were thinking about. No, that actually looks pretty good. We don't get out of it. I do want to look at SNA actually, too, because that's so. You're up a lot. Yeah, I think we want to get out of this actually. Because we just want to drop something. Okay, I think we're getting towards the end here. I think we do want to look at, all right, we're going to look at Woof. And then we're done. We're going to look at these three. Woof, CPRI. Any trends here? No, don't. That. No, that's a pretty good idea. We'll hold on to that. WHR. We do want to get rid of one of these things. No, that looks good too. How about leg? No, that also looks up. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of leg because we just want to cut some of this stuff. How about GWN? We don't up on this. So what's going on here? We need to. I think we're gonna get both of those. It's not a target. How about XRX? XRX and Saver, and then we're done. We gotta get XRX. We're gonna get rid of one of the XRX. I didn't really like that shorter one. And then SABR. We're toast here. Any questions, William, as we wrap?
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple a little bit. So you've got some duplicate tickers in here. Are these just trades you put on like twice in the same name?
No, generally not. Like actually, like almost always not. Like they're just kind of ones that get I'll close one of these. That just kind of get added. Actually, I want to look and just see. They just kind of remain low in the signals, and like sometimes it's accidental, sometimes it's not accidental. That they just kind of remain low, and I just kind of like keep adding them over time, right? We'll actually go and look at those after. Oh, cold is a great drop. I'm glad I looked at it. Full. We're gonna drop one of these. Yeah, this is a pretty big column here. UBS.
And I actually did have one other question that was much more high level for you. Because I know you're very formulaic in the trades themselves, but you mentioned earlier that right now you just kind of have a bullish, slant to you right now, and just your feeling of the market as a whole. How did you come to that conclusion, or is it just a number of things you're paying attention to, and just your opinion and experience in the markets, which makes you feel that way at any given point in time?
I would say I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I'm trying to do multiple things here. Steven, Will, we got to remember, we're dropping one of two on XRX, FRHC, and UBX, I believe. That's, and HAS. So it's really like the way that I see it, and I really like what you said yourself. The way that I see it is there's with this consumer credit thing, there's kind of a broad reason to be bearish, like a rationale, right? And then there's kind of like a general reason to be bullish. Like the market, it's like, it's good to kind of be base bullish. Because just like generally, 70% of the time you're right to be bullish. So that's a good side to be on, right? So those two things are kind of at odds. And what I'm looking for is reasons to believe one side or the other. And I kind of lean on right now, I'm leaning on QQQ net option sentiment a lot. And it's very bullish today. So it's really kind of as simple as that. I've been kind of leaning on that, especially lately a lot. And it's kind of just that simple. Like it's been leading the market down. I could probably pull up a graph right after this. I think we're done. Great. I'm gonna pull up one of our recent I don't know if this one is a good for the example to be. I think we can probably look at this here. Yeah, I mean, this is a good one. It's good, not great. You can kind of see it holding the line and being like a nice lead back up on this, and you can see like a lead up here. But yeah, I would say generally, either I'm looking for one of a few things. I'm looking for QQQ and SPY net option sentiment to be doing the same thing directionally. That to me is very easy. Like, okay, they're both bearish, and like I'm bearish, right? Or I'm looking for one of them that's tracking particularly well on an ongoing basis. Like I see it in front down, I see it in front up. And right now that's what I'm seeing from QQQ, and I'm leaning on that more because SPY on the flip side has actually just been at an extremely bullish level for like a long time. So that's not providing much use because in these bull and bear turns, we're actually not seeing we're not seeing a lot of change. Like our SPY net option sentiment is 40. Oh, actually, I should have been putting it. It's on this graphic, right? But we're just seeing it in a generally bullish level. This is a pretty nice lead up right here. But I wouldn't call that to be all that useful just because it's been so bullish. Whereas you can actually see QQQ net option sentiment, like I would say much more. Like this behavior was very leading in terms of the bull movement, and we definitely saw a clear reaction on the bear movement here, like dipping all the way into the bear zone. So I would say this one is definitely providing, more signal value, and you can also kind of see the movement this week. What we'll see is like more bearish again before a bit of a decline. So it's really just that simple. Anytime I can shrink the problem into something logical like that, like QQQ is tracking well, I'm just going to ride that until like that stops working, and it's working well now. So no reason not to do that. But like there's that big caveat that there needs to, like to your point, be a macro view too, right? Like if I didn't see any legit bear concerns like this credit crisis or I think what's kind of looking like some overpricing in the market due to the risks, it wouldn't really matter what that option sentiment was saying. Like I'd just be like, maybe it's just institutions messing with these options contracts and it's going to work itself out. I'm going to wait and see on like a bearish move in my portfolio. But because as I kind of started with this, there's good reasons to be bullish and bearish. I do kind of lean on, whatever index sentiments I can see, as well as technicals as tiebreakers.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions from the crowd?
I don't think so, from me at least. That was really informative just to watch you go through it and just apply your process to the portfolio as a whole.
It's kind of funny, right? Yeah, thanks. Sometimes I've actually had investors ask me, they're just like, well, why don't you use the model portfolio in your performance? Is it just because it's not as good? And like, hey, it's kind of funny. It was at like 20% above the market. Now it's closer to 50, which is like my performance last year. So hey, that isn't really that true anymore. But it's also like, no, like actually, here's a YouTube video of me. I do this in 10 minutes. Like, yeah, it's like, and this is a question that we get a lot. It's like, this is just proof how well the signals work, as far as I'm concerned, that I can spend 10 minutes just like tossing in ideas, and the portfolio like performs as well and can hold us like, I had 100 before today. I had 160 active stocks in that portfolio. So like obviously that's way too many to maintain any kind of view. I don't even know what all the companies do, let alone like what's going on with them or the news or anything other than like maybe what net option sentiment is doing on an ongoing basis. So yeah, I think that that's like kind of the interesting part about that process. Where like I try to make it clear, people are always like, well, how do I like should I buy this? How do you weigh the model portfolio? And I'm just like, hold on, you've misunderstood me. Like you should like I barely would recommend a retail investor have a portfolio of 20 stocks, let alone 160. You should not be following this portfolio. You should be looking what I'm doing to decide what's in and what's out and taking that and applying that yourself.
Yeah, it scales very well. I mean, it allows you just to have such like a broad breadth of the entire market, right? As opposed to having a deep dive on just a handful of tickers that maybe you decide to be a domain expert on. But this gives you a way of just being able to top down look at the entire, ticker universe.
Exactly. And we can kind of bring it back to the other topic as well, which is like a lot of days, if net option sentiment isn't moving very much from where it's been on QQQ or SPY, I don't even need to check my stuff as much. Like I don't even need to zoom down on the individual stocks. I'm just like, oh, I don't need to change my market view. I can go focus on other things today.
Sure.
And not like watch the market
Sure.
all day. I'm just going to keep checking QQQ and SPY net option sentiment. And if something changes, then I'll then I'll zoom down to the stocks. Like if not, then I'm going to do other stuff. So like, yeah, I think that that's like the point.
I mean, I think that's a really interesting point. And like another key takeaway is that if, correct me if I'm wrong, but if SPY and QQQ net option sentiment amongst maybe a couple other signals remains pretty consistent over, let's say, a few days or a few weeks, then your just general view of things is probably going to remain consistent as well, right?
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure I don't want to speak for you, but I think like the biggest thing I've learned is like a more experienced investor, trader, whatever, is not to tinker, like leave, like, unless you have a reason to change your view, like you shouldn't change. Like if your view is that malleable where like every little piece of information you get, like you're changing your view, like your view wasn't good enough in the first place, right? I need bigger waves, to change my thinking on things. So it's just like, if anything, it's an easier way to maintain that discipline, right? There's a logic to it, but it's also just like, why am I even getting like, why do I even need to check? Like, I might just like convince myself, like, A, I'm going to burn more of my valuable time by looking at this more. And B, like, if I'm not changing my view on the market, why would I need to change my portfolio? Like, yeah, if I see some news about a certain stock, like, yeah, I'll elevate it then. And I'll like take a look at like maybe the bulls and the bears in Prospero. And I'll say, like, hey, are there any names that are there that haven't been there? And I might go that level to add new positions. But yeah, in terms of just like, do I need to change things? Like, you should default to no. Like, I don't know if your view is similar, but like that's my default setting to be like, do I need to change something that I already like had enough conviction to buy? Like, my base setting is no, and then it's just like, is there anything I'm seeing that should convince me to change that no to a yes?
Yeah, just over time, I've learned definitely the hard way that the more impulsive I am through anything, I mean, not just trading in general, the worse I do, right? I was probably right the first time or right enough that I don't need to go back and rethink that decision. Maybe learn from it if it turned out to be wrong. But, if my base case, if I had a pretty strong opinion in some moment, then I probably shouldn't go back and overthink it, right?
And that I think led me to a good point too, where it's just like, if you're wrong time and time again, like you should go back and reevaluate your process. Like not necessarily like tinker after the fact. You've got to go a step back, right? Because if you're wrong time and time again, changing, exiting positions is a nice start, right? But it's good to go a step back even further if you're gonna like actually like fix the larger problem of that you're wrong too often.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree.
All right. I think we're good. last call for questions. Thanks for coming, Will. I think that was great. I think you asked some good questions. You know, as as um as I expected you to. And yeah. Oh, I see one more question. Is the seminar open to public in Princeton? I don't think so. I don't think Princeton is like I don't know Princeton that well. I don't really know it to be a very open place in general. But I'll ask if you're in Jersey. I'm sure like I'm sure I have the authority to bring guests. But I don't necessarily think I don't think there's a very open door policy at Princeton. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, George.
Thanks for joining us, Will.
Appreciate you letting me come on today. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Take care.
Bye, stream. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Kyle. Thank you. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure George stays up to date on that. But thanks everybody for coming. See you back here Monday, everybody. Happy trading and investing.